Hi, this is Lily Cotilla. Welcome to Edging Life. Couples often have themes in which they fight about, and there is often no resolution. And yet, they keep going back to the same content over the course of hours or days or weeks or years in an attempt to create a solution where there are clearly two different individual views and opinions. This is one aspect. Another aspect is, while there is a disagreement going on, it's like there's either a need to win or to prove or to have the last word or to get the person to see what you're saying or where you're coming from, which would ultimately be nice, but it's not going to happen in that time frame where the energy has already escalated and you are in friction mode. So keep in mind that the solution to resolving these continual arguments, whatever the content, right? The content could be anything. It could be shoes. It could be a restaurant. It could be whatever. Then there's also process fighting, which is how you talk, your tone of voice, your eye rolling, your walking away or not, etc., etc. This is all stuff you can spend money on in therapy. But the real solution is that after a contextual friction happens in the relationship, use your brain power. So figure out a way. Just let that one go. Lose the battle. Who cares? It's not about winning or losing. Just do your internal work you have to do to let it go. Change your energy, take a shower, go for a walk, breathe, smell a rose, whatever you need to do. And if you're invited to re-enter that friction, don't walk through the door because it's going to continue exactly where it left off. So use your brain power to identify what the problem is. Once you identify what the problem is, the next time it comes around again, which might be in a week, a day, a month, and the content may be very different, you might take a different approach to getting the solution you want. In fact, it might not be at all directly around each other. Like, let's say, for example, you were sharing with a boyfriend a dinner with a few other couples, and you were talking and he interrupted you and you thought it was rude, and then after dinner, well, maybe you called him out on the spot, and or after dinner you guys got in an argument because you let him know that you didn't appreciate being interrupted, basically insinuating your story was boring or whatever you thought he was insinuating. And then he had his reasons why. He's his defense, rather than saying, I'm, sorry, or I didn't mean it that way, I can see how you took it, etc., etc. A way to go about getting the solution is that maybe 2 weeks from now he shares with you a story, an anecdote from his day where he's at a business luncheon and he's talking and one of his colleagues just interrupts him. And he's telling you this story and explaining it in such a way that this guy is just so incredibly rude. I mean, how could he have interrupted him? He didn't even know the point he was trying to make, etc. So this is the time not to bring it back to your dinner example and be like, ha ha, told you so, point your finger, see what it's like. Because that's not loving. That's not going to connect you guys even more. But what you can do is you can model that, yeah, you know what? That really sucks when you're telling a story or you're trying to say something and you're interrupted. I completely get what you mean. I think I would feel a similar way. He may make the connection to the dinner in which you had with your friends, or he may not. It does serve as modeling, but he may not be influenced by the modeling. He might not do the same thing. And if a future event similar were to arise, but within the next 10 minutes of that particular acknowledgement of his business luncheon in which he was interrupted and shared with you, you might make a slight reference to the dinner that you shared with him in which he interrupted you, where there were other couples. Like out of the blue, you might say, "Wasn't that red dress that Janita was wearing that night so beautiful? I've been trying to find one online." Or if it's close to dinner time, you might say, "Remember when we had that halibut with capers with the cream sauce? That was so good. Do you think we could make that tonight or something similar?" Because hypnotically, you're making a weave in his brain back to that night. And since he just had the conversation with you about the business interruption from his perspective and his ego vantage point, there is a higher chance that he will make the connection of empathy of how he most likely unintentionally made you feel during that time. Now, this is just an example, but with respect to any frictional areas in relationships, this is the key, or one of the keys, in order to slowly get change to happen.